Salutations everybody, it is Shaggy here today. I mean, seriously, someone get me an olive green shirt, it'll happen, I promise you. Anyway, New Vegas fans, prepare your hearts accordingly because this story may tug at the heartstrings just a wee bit. Before I get any further into this story, no, Obsidian's not making a new Fallout game. There's like a 1% chance that ever happens again. But this is a write-up by project director of Fallout New Vegas, JSawyer, talking about a very interesting topic. A lot of content creators, including myself, have been led to believe by various sources that Obsidian's staff and design has changed quite a bit since Fallout New Vegas, and if Obsidian were to ever receive the Fallout franchise again, it wouldn't turn out the same as the amazing game that is New Vegas. However, a fan had asked JSawyer that very question, and he made a very big post about it that I wanted to share with you guys and discuss today. So let's get right into it, starting off with the very question itself. Hi Josh, I love New Vegas and played it for countless hours on Steam. Some fans would argue if Obsidian were to somehow be able to make the next Fallout installment, it would be radically different from the New Vegas that we know and love. As fans would say, it's due to a shift in management. I don't know how valid that point is, but I thought I would get your opinion on it. Some may wonder why the shift in management is so important, and I will just use BioWare as the shining example. Would you believe the company nowadays that made Inquisition, Dragon Age 2, and is now working on Anthem actually made games like Dragon Age Origins, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and Jade Empire? Two completely different companies there. Yes, they retain some of the original DNA from BioWare, but as Carrick and I always say, old BioWare, long and gone. Now for JSawyer's comments. I don't know what changes people think have been made in management that would result in such a shift. I'd say it's more likely that changes in staff, the development team as a whole, would be likely to result in a shift. But I don't even think that would be likely. I guess it depends on what decisions on Fallout New Vegas you consider to be integral to its character who made those decisions, and if that individual would make similar decisions on a future Fallout project. I had, by far, more authority on Fallout New Vegas than on any project I've ever worked on before or since. I exerted more dictatorial control over individual elements on Fallout New Vegas than I have on any other project. Were I to direct a future Fallout title, I would make similar decisions in terms of both broad strokes and details. I did not pick New Vegas as a location, but I framed the entirety of the game's base world, mapped out every region on paper. World builders like Scotty, Sydney Wolfram, and Denise McMurray did all in-game mapping and wrote every region design constraint doc, RDC, naming, describing, and overall defining the major locations in the game. Everything marked with a star in this map which I created, which as we can see in this picture here is the map he's exactly talking about. So in my opinion, as it started off, I was like, oh boy, is he kind of dancing around the question, because it felt like there were hairs being split between management and staff, which are key differences, but I feel like everyone already knew what the fan was talking about. But as you can see right there, he shows the map, he shows some design docs, he really name drops, and this post gets super juicy, so let's continue on. Would I change how I approach this? Probably. I would start the character somewhere further away from the edge of the world, and probably farther away from New Vegas. I would also loosen up a bit on real-world map accuracy and insist that the world builders use as few invisible walls as possible, only to prevent them from falling and getting stuck, never out of concern about sight lines and LODs, especially since we understand how LODs work in the engine much better now. Otherwise, I think this process worked well. The reason I really like this write-up too is because for as amazing of a game as New Vegas is, like any other video game out there, it has its set of flaws, and I like how Josh is quick to address those along with the successes. I agree as well. I don't think Good Springs was the most exciting, engaging beginner area. It did highlight some key role-playing mechanics that would play a much larger part in the entire title itself. But yes, the trek to New Vegas, which was very much the highlight of the game, was very short. The Vegas Strip as a whole, with the characters you can interact with, the families that are there, how the story ties together there, all that is incredibly well designed. But I think aesthetically, upon entering, I get a feeling instantly that it's constrained. Like this could have been so much more. In a way, it's underwhelming, but it didn't hit that hard since it wasn't such a long journey to get there. So in a way, if for example, the usual 2 to 3 hours it takes to get to Vegas, if not shorter, I'm just going off the top of my head, compared to what could have been like an 8-hour trek to get there, I don't know if that would have actually worked out so much, but it's interesting to get his perspective on this and how he would have done it another time around. For better or for worse, I conceived and designed the character arcs for every base game companion, though they were further fleshed out and entirely written by different designers, save Arcade Gannon. Time permitting, I would be more likely to work with writers to conceive companions collaboratively as we did on Deadfire. Otherwise, I think the process and overall quality of the companions was terrific thanks to the efforts of the writers. I wouldn't change the process or focus for a theoretical future title. He gets it, man. Like, the writing was the best part about New Vegas, easily. And there's no need to change that whatsoever. I agree though, as a project director, you probably want to have your hand in all the cookie jars, overseeing all that's going on. So yeah, I'm sure he would like to work alongside the writers a little bit, sway certain decisions in certain manners that he saw was best for the game. But the way it turned out was great, and I'm glad that if they were to somehow ever get a Fallout game again, that wouldn't change. I defined the open nature of the critical path and insisted on certain elements such as ending with the battle for Hoover Dam, allowing any non-child character to be killed, and allowing the player to skip any/every step of the critical path prior to meeting Benny in the tops, with the story still making sense. John Gonzalez, our lead creative designer, defined the major characters of the critical path, the strip's houses, and the details of the critical path, but I see no reason why we would now design something that feels fundamentally different from what John did. Personally, the only design decision that I disagree with there is how the ending was handled in the terms of it being a full-on conclusion, no continuation afterwards whatsoever. Especially when you had Fallout 3 and a ton of consumer feedback to go off of wow, people really wanted to keep playing after they beat it, and especially in a game like New Vegas, which is packed with so many quests you can miss, so many choices to be made, and it's so character driven that you want to just go back and talk to everybody with that final character. It's a little frustrating that the game ended in a similar fashion. It was actually kind of mind-boggling. I remember the first time I played it to have it end that way. In fact, I was so stubborn, and this is my own fault, that I saw the reviews. People said, yeah, once you beat it, it doesn't let you continue onwards, and I thought, no way they did this again. And I actually played, beat it, and lost my first character because I was so insistent that they would not do the same decision again. Being able to skip certain parts of the story and meeting up with characters later on, but still having the story make sense, I love that, man. That's one of my favorite parts about role-playing games, is feeling like the world continues on and you can pick up quests in certain areas dynamically. Everyone will have different stories to share. This is what makes Obsidian clearly so special as a developer. I was the only system designer on the project, accepting the work Frank Kolakowski did on challenges. He designed pretty much everything about them and implemented them all. I made all the special revisions, skill system revisions, perk and trait revisions / additions. I also designed, implemented, and tuned every weapon in the game. Overall, I'm happier with the system design in Fallout New Vegas than any other game I've worked on. If you want to know what I changed about what I did, go look at the JSawyer mod. So I actually looked it up, and the JSawyer mod is essentially a difficulty and rebalance mod which maintains much of the vanilla vision when compared to similar mods, while still managing to feel new. So tweaks and damage and so on have been made with this mod, and it's quite interesting to see that that is something that exists. I had actually never heard of this mod. Obviously there was a big team at Obsidian working on Fallout New Vegas, but it's actually very fascinating to read this and see how one person had such a critical role and many fundamental mechanics, special revisions, skills, traits, perks, weapon design, stories, critical paths. I mean, Josh Sawyer is literally responsible for laying out the framework for so much of what made this game amazing. I should also note one more time two of the things that I wasn't huge about with this game, which were where it opened and how it opened, and the decision with the finale to completely conclude the game, he is also equally as responsible for, but I think the good clearly outweighs the bad. It continues on. I also designed Caravan with Jesse Farrell, but please hold me responsible for its shortcomings. Yeah, that was a bridge too far. That and scheduling the Legion territories and supplemental quests too late in development. The team as a whole defined the character of Fallout New Vegas quests and the writing of individual characters. I can't really take much directorial credit for this other than telling designers when I think they were doing a good job, offering suggestions / feedback, and generally staying out of their way unless I thought they were making something players weren't going to enjoy. If we were to make another Fallout game, I would absolutely have all the designers look at what the team did on Fallout New Vegas. New Vegas is what it is because of their work. All of the high-level planning and directing in the world will fall flat if the moment-to-moment conversations, quests, and environments don't move something in you. That takes a team of people making good decisions and doing work, and there's no way around that. It's been 8 years, so a lot of the staff have moved on from Obsidian, but many members of the original Fallout New Vegas team are still here. I still think we can make a fantastic Fallout game with the character of Fallout New Vegas. I don't think I will ever get the chance to, but I'm grateful both to the original team and to the fans for making Fallout New Vegas the best game I've had the good fortune to be involved with. A lot to take in there. You can see the passion emanating off the page. It's clear that at some point Obsidian really wants to work on another Fallout game, and I hope their wish does get granted both for fans and the developer themselves. Overall though, this has been a fascinating read. I love seeing just the behind the scenes stories, the decisions, who's responsible for what. Even though Josh clearly emphasized, hey, I tried to stay out of the hair of people who are working hard and just give them little taps on the shoulders here and there, it's very apparent that based off what he did say he did, laid out a lot of the framework for what was amazing about this game. But of course, kudos to everyone at Obsidian who worked very hard on Fallout New Vegas and made it the game it is today, which is celebrated by a lot of fans as the best Fallout game out there. So it's awesome to see, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this write-up in the comments down below. If you want to give it a read yourself as well, that will be linked down below. Do check it out. Send Josh your love as well as the team at Obsidian. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that as it fuels all the content we create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.